Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Juliet, and I'll be the moderator for today's webinar. Before I pass it over to our speaker, let me cover a few housekeeping items. At the top of your screen are multiple engagement tools you can use. All tools are resizable and movable, so feel free to move them around to get the most out of your desktop space. You can expand your presentation area or maximize it to full screen by clicking on the arrows in the top right corner. If you have any audio or video issues, you can find answers to some common technical issues located in the Help widget at the top of your screen. Please note that a copy of today's slide deck and additional resources are available in the resource list. Have a look and download everything that you may find useful. Also, the webinar will be recorded and sent via the email you registered with. Lastly, if you have any questions during the presentation, you can submit them through the Q&A widget. We're here to answer you live via the chat, so don't hesitate to reach out throughout the presentation. Now, I'd like to introduce our speakers today. Today, we're joined by Catriona Shepherd, founder at Bannock Technical Consulting, an independent consultancy specializing in digitized requirements management. With international experience across the energy sector, Catriona has successfully led large-scale initiatives to modernize the development and application of engineering standards. Catriona has also collaborated with the International Association of Oil and Gas Producers to establish best practices for digitizing engineering requirements across the sector. And with that, I'll pass it over to you, Catriona.
Thank you, Juliet, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about how requirement management tools can benefit the application of engineering specifications in the oil and gas industry, and how in doing so, we can improve project outcomes. As Juliet says, I'm an independent consultant in the oil and gas industry. I specialize in helping companies move to digitized requirement management tools and in understanding the business case. I have an engineering background. I started my career with Technip, an engineering contractor, and then I joined BP, majority of that time working on big offshore projects. I now have my own company, Bannock Technical Consulting, and currently I'm collaborating with Jama software to help the oil and gas industry move forward in the digitization of engineering requirements. So I'm going to start by giving a few details about Jama Connect. That's the Jama software requirements management tool. And then I'll look at how engineering standards are used today and the challenges with a document-centric approach. And after that, I'll look at the potential solutions that a requirements management tool can offer out the box for an individual company. And finally, I'll discuss the longer-term opportunities to transform projects when more companies in the supply chain are using requirement management tools, and we can move away from documents to more data-driven governance. After the presentation, we will have a demo of some of the functionalities of Jama Connect that are useful to the management of specifications, and we'll have some time at the end for Q&A. In the oil and gas industry, we are starting to see requirement management tools being used to manage engineering requirements that are contained in specifications. Jama Software's customers in the oil and gas industry include BP and IOGP, that's the International Association of Oil and Gas Producers. Both companies have found enormous benefit from moving to a requirements management tool. They've mentioned the short implementation time with minimal disruption to the development of specifications. And they've talked about the ease of training engineers to use the tool and also in having flexibility in configuration without the complexity or customization. IOGP have actually said that the years ahead will be defined by universal digital environments created by platforms like Jama Connect, and that these will help companies gain an edge in their processes. There are more details about both these companies' experiences of using Jama Connect on the Jama website. Historically, projects in the oil and gas industry have been managed using documents. The workflow is shown here. These projects are large, complex, expensive, multi-year, and involve a lot of companies and tools. At each stage of the process, requirements are added to, modified, deviated against and verified, and then at the end of the project, learnings are captured for continuous improvement. It is exactly the sort of process that would benefit from requirements management, but unfortunately most companies today still work in documents, so the processes are manual and inefficient, and this means product quality is variable and project costs are higher. So let's take a look at some of these challenges. Firstly, efficiency. In a document-centric approach, the update of specifications is very inefficient. There are multiple tools involved. Engineers swap spreadsheets and Word documents by email, and there are all the issues inherent with that, including people potentially seeing different versions and heavy feedback consolidation. You also have engineers putting documents into the right template and checking formatting and cross-references and managing the processes for the approval of deviations and learnings. And these activities are non-technical, repetitive, and take significant time. Other issues with the document-centric approach include changes between versions are not always clearly identified. And in these cases, engineers using the specifications need to read the whole document again when a new version is issued. Deviations are usually managed in a separate document to the specifications, which means you need to have two documents open at the same time just to read the requirement. Unnecessary, duplicating, or contradicting requirements can exist, and it is very difficult to find these in a document-centric system. These requirements can increase project cost and can lead to variable product quality. End users usually provide feedback or learnings on published specifications, and that's what helps keeps the specifications current. However, it might take up to a year to update and publish an engineering specification, and that plus the fact that feedback from end users is usually managed in a separate system means that it could take years for feedback to be incorporated into a specification. Finally, suppliers can receive multiple specifications. IOGP have said that companies in the oil and gas industry have on average 400 different specifications, and that's in addition to the industry standards. And that means a supplier will receive multiple specifications as part of the contract and have to read through all of them to extract the relevant requirements. It is very time consuming, and it would be so much easier if they could just be sent the relevant requirements and then focus on quality and verification. These issues are not going to be solved by continuing to use a document management system, but a requirements management tool can address these issues. With a requirements management tool, you get a single location and simplified processes for developing, updating, commenting, reviewing, approving, publishing, storing different versions, and selecting specifications for use. The tool can also automatically put your document into the correct format. IOGP have stated that for them, specifications were delivered 4 times faster in Jama Connect than its original approach. Now they have collaboration across the globe. Every reviewer sees the same content in real time. Feedback from suppliers and third parties goes directly into the tool, and the requirements are updated as you go along. The tool can also automatically capture changes between versions when a new version is published. Deviations can be captured directly in the tool and be visible at the requirement level. You no longer need to have 2 documents open at the same time. The tool will also allow you to capture the justification for each requirement, and then you can eliminate the requirements that cannot be justified. It's very hard to capture that metadata in a document. You can also reuse or sync requirements, and that will drive consistency and avoid requirements diverging. Feedback on published content from end users can be captured directly in the tool, and that plus the time it takes to update a specification is faster means that specifications are more current. And finally, as part of the move from documents to requirement management, we can capture metadata at requirement level to indicate which scope or equipment a requirement applies to. And that will allow us to create scope-specific packages, which means a supplier will only see the requirements that are relevant to them. I like this quote from IOGP. We really need to move to a world where there are no more documents. And the potential for having all our information in a digital environment is just huge. So in the short term, there are immediate benefits from moving to a digitized requirements management tool for just one company in the supply chain. In the longer term, when more companies are using requirement management tools, we can integrate requirements across the supply chain. And this means source requirements from industry organizations and operating companies will be integrated. So there is one set of requirements that the project selects from. And then you can combine these source requirements with requirements from the engineering contractors and suppliers so that we have one set of requirements for the project rather than multiple documents. Each company will have their own tool and can access the requirements relevant to them. Each requirement and decision on the project can be traced back to the source requirement, and that will eliminate unnecessary requirements and improve product quality. Deviations and conformance evidence can be captured more easily and directly by the supplier, and it will be easier to see which requirements have not been verified, and then we can focus on those. So with requirement management tools, the future of the oil and gas industry will be one of collaboration and efficiency, and that will lead to increased profitability. With that, let's jump into Jama and have a look at some of the functionality that can support specification management. This is a sample Jama project. I've called it Specification Library, and I've stored a number of specifications in it. And I've grouped the specifications according to discipline and document type. Under mechanical, there are 3 specifications. Each specification is a component of the Jama project. And I'm going to open up the component for diesel engines. And now you'll see 3 sets. There's a set for the published document, a set for the previous versions, and a set for the working or live version. And this is just one way you can configure the tool. There are multiple ways you could configure Jama to support specifications and address the specific issues you have with the document approach. I'm going to open up the working version, and you'll see that each heading in the specification is a folder. So I'm going to go to Technical Specifications. And now you'll see the subfolders, and when you open one of those, you'll see the actual requirements. Each requirement is stored as an item in Jama, and an item is made up of fields, and these fields contain the data associated with that requirement. It is very easy to add additional fields to capture specific data. And here I've got a field for justification and a field to capture facility type and equipment type. And it is very easy to edit these. Justification is a free text field, so you have all the normal formatting options. Facility type is a pick list, and so is equipment type. And then you just save and done. You can use the widgets on the right-hand side to add comments. And you can also use the comments widget to invite someone to have a look at a requirement and add their comments. You can see previous versions. And you can view the changes between previous versions. There you can see the attributes that were added in. And you can also link requirements to create relationships. So you can see all the history and activities associated with the requirement in one place.